Hello, you guys, and thank you so much for tuning in to my channel. Now, before you do anything else, please click the like button and click the subscribe button and that little notification bell so you know when I make new videos. So I just wanted to talk about something that's really been annoying me. Look, I'm someone who's very open about my transition and I'm very vocal and I'm pretty much an open book. I'm one of those people where you could ask me anything and it pretty much would not offend me. But I think being trans, there are just a couple of questions that really just irk me. So I want to talk about the things that you really shouldn't ask a transgender person just in general. So I'm going to start with the first one that's always been an issue for me, and that is asking what my real name is. The reason this is a fucked up question to ask a transgender person is twofold. Number one, the name on my identity document, the name that I'm legally recognized by, my official legal name is Christabel. Therefore, I only have one real name. So it annoys me when people are like, well, what was your real name? Because it just feels like you're invalidating what my actual name is, as though the name that I have is some sort of, I don't know, like it's a joke, you know what I mean? And I remember once I was out it was my friend's birthday, and there was this guy who clocked me sitting across the table from me. And, you know, he introduced himself and he pulled his hand out and he said, what's your name? And I looked at him and I was like, oh, my name's Christabel. He looked at me again and he's like, no, what's your real name? So I'm like, my real name is Christabel. And he sort of gives me this look and he's like, okay. That really gets to me. Like, I mean, even if you sort of ask, you know, well, what was your original name or what was your birth name? Why does it matter? Part of my frustration rests in the fact that obviously I'm Xhosa. I'm a Black South African Xhosa woman. And my Xhosa name for most English-speaking white people would be difficult to pronounce anyways. You wouldn't be able to know how to pronounce my name. There have been times where I've told people what my name was, and then they end up mispronouncing it and wanting to call me by my dead name and not even fucking saying the dead name right. And I'm like, no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. I know, you know, transitions and people transitioning is fascinating for some people, but you don't get to call me by my old name. You don't get to call me by my dead name. In one of the companies that I worked for, there was the group that I was working with, they wanted to know what my dead name was. And I remember telling this one guy who kept working on the pronunciation of my dead name, and then eventually he asked if it was okay if he could just call me by my dead name. And I just remember looking at him and thinking to myself, no, I'd prefer if you called me by my real name. This girl sitting next to him, this fat girl sitting next to him, bald-headed fat girl sitting next to him, missing some teeth, sitting next to him, was like, well, you know, that isn't your real name. Your real name is your birth name. And I remember not understanding how they couldn't understand the fact that Christabel was my legal and official name. And it annoyed me because a friend of mine who was in the same team, he had converted to Islam. And when you convert to Islam, your name changes. They were able to respect him and call him by his new Muslim name, but they didn't want to call me by my legal name. I don't get that. I do not get that. Even with the whole Caitlyn Jenner thing, when she came out as Caitlyn, everybody was like, no, they misgendered Caitlyn, and they were like, her mama named her Bruce. I'm gonna call her Bruce. Yet you can call Tina Turner and not Anime. You know, like you can call all of these artists by their new names and you accept their new names, but you refuse to accept the names of transgender people. That's hella annoying for me. Don't ask a trans person that. That's literally at the top of my list. It's the most annoying thing. The second thing you should never really say to a trans person, and a lot of people do this, when you come out to them as trans, they'll say things like, oh, I knew you were trans, or oh, I knew. And you're just kind of like, okay, so you knew. This one girl she basically said how she knew was because of my voice. She said she was sitting in the back seat of a car and I was in the front, and she said, oh, I could tell you were trans because of your voice. And I just remember thinking to myself, and of course she had no malice in saying whatever she said. She had no bad intention. But what's important to realize is we all suffer from insecurities. And my voice has always been one of my biggest insecurities transitioning. I got to a point where I just speak in a normal, natural voice that's comfortable to me. I don't make my voice any higher because I can't personally sustain that. So when people take knocks at the way that I talk, it really, really does hurt. And it also, I don't think it's not necessarily valid. I personally believe that I'm in the female range. But of course, sometimes when I clear my throat, you know what, I'm not going to justify myself. Don't say things like that. I remember the one guy who was sitting, and I'm so sorry for saying this, but it is something annoying that people do. The one guy who was sitting next to us, he said he could tell that I was trans from the way that I was texting. And I just remember thinking, okay, I'm not really sure how sending text messages identifies you as being transgender. But okay. People for the past 6 years have always been very quick to nitpick at something related to my transition. The thing is, when you're a woman, there is a standard that society says you have to live by. And transgender women are put under a microscope. It's such a big microscope. And you could have a transgender woman who's in the female range, but because she's transgender, people will point out things that they would never ordinarily point out on a normal genetic female. You know what I mean? They'll bring up things like her height or her shoulders, or they'll say that she's masculine, or they'll look for things to make her seem masculine. And it's really hard, and I think what people don't understand is, guess what? When you're trans, you suffer with a lot of self-esteem issues and feelings like you're never going to be good enough. And a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us have dysphoria where, for me it was really bad. I would look at myself in the mirror and I would start crying. I cut myself for 12 years, I think, 10 to 12 years. And there were times where I had to speak or I had to say something in class, and I couldn't. I couldn't because I was so afraid and I was so insecure about my voice. And whenever I go out and I meet somebody new, there is this anxiety that I have about my voice. So when you bring things up like that, I understand that you don't know and you don't understand that this is something that could offend or hurt someone. But I mean, rather don't. Even if you meet a trans person who is in the early stages and who still looks masculine or doesn't look the way that you think a female should look, don't come with that mess talking about she's brick face, deep voice, is too tall. You know, people tell me that I'm too tall all of the time. I'm like 5'8". I'm 5'8". You know what I mean? 5'8". Am I 5'8"? What's 17 meters in feet? I'm somewhere there. I'm not that tall. I'm not that tall. But anyways, again, I'm not going to justify the way that I look. And you know, the problem is when people tell you these things, you feel like you have to. You feel like you have to justify yourself. Like I wear size 8 shoes, and two of my friends wear size 8, and they're genetic females. And I've had people say to me that, you know, because I wear size 8 shoes, they can tell that I was born a man. Because I have a small bag and I don't carry a big bag, they can tell I was born a man. Because I'm good with directions, they can tell I was born a man. People will nitpick. Don't say things like that to a transgender person. That's awful. You don't have to break down another person. And I understand you may not be aware that what you're saying is hurtful, but understand this, it is hurtful. It is hurtful and it's intrusive. Number 3, stop asking us about our genitals. Stop asking us about whether or not we've had the surgery. Most of us will not have the surgery because it's ridiculously expensive and we don't have the money. And there's a large section of trans women that don't want to have the surgery. You know what I mean? Or trans men that don't want to have, you know, surgery down there. So don't go around asking us about, oh, what do you have down there? Especially if you're not a sexual partner. Like, I've had so many people that I'm not even sleeping with come up and ask, so what do you have down there? Before you ask a question like that, first think to yourself, would I ask any other person about their genitals? And the answer is normally no, because, I mean, why do you need to know that? What I have going down in my shit is my business. And one of the main reasons you never want to ask someone this is because a lot of trans women, that's where their dysphoria is, you know, around the genitals, and you don't feel comfortable with that and you just want to kind of forget about it. And if people are going to bombard you and throw that in your face every 5 to 10 minutes, why? Why? Number 4, don't ask us if we can do a deep voice. So obviously, when I was living as a guy, my voice was a lot deeper. It was in the male range, and because I didn't want people to know I was trans, I would overcompensate and make my voice deeper. People who knew me before would always say things like, oh, do your old voice. I want them to hear what you used to sound like. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't invalidate us, because, you know, 9 times out of 10, we're just trying to live our lives and we're not trying to be a circus freak show. And people kind of make us feel like we are. You know what I mean? You guys ask us all of these questions that are invasive and intrusive, and you don't understand how it breaks somebody down. You don't understand how just walking out of your room sometimes, going outside the front door, is a daily mission. And we work so hard to build ourselves up and to try and have confidence and self-esteem. But when you're continually bombarded with all of these stupid questions that you would never ask anybody else, it dehumanizes us. It does dehumanize us. But I just want to say to my trans girls out there, and, you know, my trans men, you're beautiful and you're wonderful, and you are valid as a human being. Don't let the stupidity of other people ever confuse you. You are worthwhile. You are amazing. You are an excellent expression of life. and you are where you need to be. Girl, if you have a little bit of a base here and there, it's part of what makes you beautiful. Don't worry about it too much. And guys, I know some trans guys, when they introduce themselves to people, they try to make their voices deeper. Your voice is your own, and it's beautiful. Look, this is a journey. It's not a destination. And every part of the journey is beautiful. The only thing that sucks about the journey is when you have these dumbass people asking us stupid ass questions. But other than that, it's a beautiful journey. Thank you so much for watching. Peace, love, and blessings.